Had an epiphany today that Orc Laborers are basically the same unit as Miners with blasting charges, just without the blasting charges. So I guess you could say they're just the same as regular Miners. But anyway, it does kind of make sense given that they actually do have the same icon here. In this replay from Beaurain, we're going to see how this actually does have some implications for the Chaos Dwarfs versus Dwarfs matchup. Not one that I've taken a look at in quite a while, but let's take a look at it here today. Beaurain is up against Gotrek, a well-known, very good dwarf player, of course, given the name you'd expect as such. But yeah, he's got some miners and some blasting charges here up front, mix of both, along with some Doom Seekers, Brotherhood of Grimnir. I believe, is there another Doom Seeker over on the far side mixed in there? Yep, and some Dragon Slayers, just the one Dragon Slayer actually, with Thorek. And then the Skolder Guard Iron Drakes. Very cool. Been seeing them a little bit recently in some dwarf replays. Love that. They've got their AP explosive steam guns and got some steam gyros up in the air as well. As for the Chaos Dwarfs, it's all AP infantry for the most part. We've got Orc Laborers and Chaos Dwarf Warrior. Great weapons and a massive wide line here. A couple of Goblin Laborers mixed in as well. Trazoath the Ashen on foot here. I've been seeing a little bit more of him recently as well. Yeah, on foot, reasonably cost effective. He's got his +8 melee attack passive, and then the Flames of Asgore, definitely great damage. Ashit's Dark Ravagers with their anti-infantry and shield breaker missile damage here with their dual axes that they throw with their ROR status. A couple of Fire Glaives and Infernal Castellans. So wild build, honestly. Some picks that you don't see super typically, like the Castellans. Of course, blasting charges are going to make these units pay, and that is definitely the equalizer between these two units. One reason why miners cost significantly more, but you can see that their stats are pretty comparable, actually. I mean, Orc Labor is obviously lacking 80 armor. That is the other main difference for sure, and of course having much worse leadership. But other than that, their sustained combat stats are actually the same. So in situations where the miners, and the Orc Laborers get matched up 1v1, or with a little bit of support, Laborers definitely can trade quite well. Here we see the Chaos Dwarf Warriors trying to push through, get to the Skolder Guard, but just getting absolutely eliminated as Gotrek defends his flank here, pushing away much of the masses with these miners, their charges having done enough leadership damage. But again, Laborers, even though their leadership's not doing great, once they kind of stabilize and start to fight it out here, keep the background up in view as these Laborers bash it out with the miners. And their AP and stats, of course, means, like I said, trading okay. Brotherhood of Grimnir here, pushing through, though. Their speed allows them to close with Fire Glaives. Same thing with the other Fire Glaives, getting closed by the Dragon Slayer and blasted by those steam guns. Gyrocopters definitely getting some nice work done. Little Flames of Asgore there, almost missed it, but yeah, absolutely nukes those miners. Does some good damage to the Skolder Guard as well. Trazoath moving away. He's got anti-infantry with his torch in melee. But Hashit's Dark Ravagers still trying to defend the whatever they can of the Fire Glaives here. Of course, the synergy's great between them if they can get in contact. I guess there aren't any actually shielded units here, so the Shielded Breaker trait doesn't really apply, but still, just fighting reasonably well together. Castellans also using some of their shots to try and plink away some Gyrocopters, but Dragon Slayer hero here is going to move into combat. His one Doom Seeker friend. Yeah, you can see the steam guns also trying to support fire into this engagement. But the Castellans, his animations, I should say, in this engagement will mean that sometimes he does like this little combat roll thing where he rolls away from the Dragon Slayer. Will not actually get hit by him as much like you might think due to the disparity between these two. Well, I guess there's actually not a huge disparity, all things considered, especially with Trazoath providing some buffs nearby. But anyway, yeah, we see the Rune of Doom being popped there. Nice melee attack buff, puts the Dragon Slayer up to 59. Infernal Castellan, though, definitely not going quietly into that good night. Uses that Breath of Hatred. Where does that come from? Is that another? What is that? I don't even know, to be honest. But he gets a little bit of a buff there. Not that it helps him much. But if we take a look across the rest of the field here, the Chaos Dwarfs have mostly been able to wrap up, and then the Grim Delvers come from somewhere. I don't even know. I guess they were maybe vanguarded in on a flank somewhere. Honestly, totally did not see them, but here they are, potentially with quite a bit of ammunition in an amount that could change the course of the battle here. They're going to turn and fire the Chaos Dwarf Warriors. The Laborers here just instantly rout them along with the steam guns. Still with a decent amount of ammunition up in the air, but a little bit of a problem for the Dwarf leadership here. Thorek been fully surrounded by the Hashut Stark Ravagers. See Drazoath in here as well, taking some swings and finishing off the last of the Brotherhood of Grimnir. Gyros are going to come do a little bombing run. They'll do some damage to the Hashut Stark Ravagers, but not enough to rout them off. Steam guns, obviously, not anti-large. Will do some damage, but yeah, we're going to see some Rune of Wrath and Ruin there. Just whatever damage they can against these Hashut Stark Ravagers, but really not taking the damage that they need to for the Dwarfs to win, and Thorek going down would be a big problem. Thorek also does technically count as large. The Castellans do have a +5 bonus versus large. Not much, but yeah, honestly feel like the Bayonet should maybe be pushed up to like a +10 bonus versus large for both the Castellans and the Fireglaves. That's probably a discussion for another day. But for now, we can see Thorax on his last legs here. Dragon Slayer has not been able to finish either Castellan, and it's just moved in now to, I guess, fight the Ravagers, which he probably should have been fighting the Ravagers from the beginning, to be honest. That anti-large damage could have thinned out quite a few of those models, maybe prevented Thorek from getting surrounded so heavily. Grim Devlers do get in range to start shooting, but the Flames of Asgore are going to be unleashed on them, and they try and move out of the way immediately, but don't quite dodge as they still take a considerable amount of damage there. Will it be enough, though? Hashut Stark Ravagers toss a couple of axes as they charge in under fire. Manage to just make contact. A lot of the unit gets blocked by the gyros, though. Grim Delvers, yeah, will they be able to hold here? A little rear charge from the Dragon Slayer. Fells another Dark Ravager, and it looks like they're going to rout. Maybe. Drazoath moves in. Ravagers do rout. One Castellan is secure still. Looks like the other one did actually get finished off there by the Dragon Slayer. Or the Demon Slayer, whatever he is, to be honest. Yeah, Dragon Slayer. There we go. Skolder Guard also hanging around. So all of a sudden things look tricky, potentially. But Drazoath with this armor, his anti-infantry bonus, he's got his torch, he's got his axe. He's real mad about everything. Full of dark renown here. And yeah, army losses just kind of hits for the Dwarfs. They're going to throw in the towel. Old Ashy Drazi, too strong at that point. And very interesting, honestly, on the Orc Labor front. They do pretty much all pay for themselves, which is interesting. Gotrek did go pretty heavily into the miners here, taking 6, 7 in total, which is a lot for sure. And it means that the Orc Laborers had a lot of units they could potentially trade cost effectively into. It is interesting that, like, only one of the Chaos Dwarf Warrior Great Weapons pays for themselves. They end up taking a lot more of the damage output priority, which makes sense given their higher costs. But Hashut Stark Ravagers, of course, super, super strong in this matchup. I do think Gotrek needed maybe a little bit more anti-large to deal with them. Maybe just, like, one Slayer unit only, or I don't know. All things considered, the Gyros were able to get some crazy good value. Skolder Guard didn't quite pay for themselves, and yeah, the Grim Delvers honestly lost track of them, and Gotrek might have as well, but they weren't quite in the right position to help support that critical engagement. Had they arrived a little bit earlier, probably still would have got Flames of Asgore, but maybe could have, you know, helped do some more damage to the Hashut's Ravagers a little earlier on, prevent them from dealing so much damage. Again, maybe you have the Dragon Slayer prioritize fighting these guys rather than getting caught up fighting the Castellans, even though he was able to kill them. Even still, they don't really do that much, so you kind of can just leave them alone, and it's not like they're going to do a ton here. So, yeah, it's interesting battle for sure. Beaurain able to take home a win for the Chaos Dwarf Warriors, which in terms of tier rankings, I would definitely say Dwarfs are far and away way above the Chaos Dwarfs right now. Chaos Dwarfs are maybe lower, like C tier probably. Dwarfs probably still S tier if played well, honestly. But that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.